Welcome back to the channel Coins Collector, and thank you for tuning in today. If you're someone who loves rare coins, the thrill of hidden treasures, and the excitement of discovering history in the palm of your hand, then you're in for an incredible story. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of one particular coin that has stirred up collectors, enthusiasts, and even casual hobbyists all over the world. We're talking about a simple, everyday piece of American currency that turned out to be worth an astonishing $696,000. Yes, you heard that right. What looks like a regular 25-cent coin from 1967 is actually a rare numismatic marvel, hiding a fortune behind its modest face value. So get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite snack, because we're going on a long, detailed journey into the story of the 1967 Liberty Quarter Dollar and why some of them are worth a life-changing amount of money. At first glance, a 1967 quarter may not seem particularly special. It doesn't feature any exotic materials like gold or platinum. It doesn't shine with brilliant uncirculated luster in most cases. It was struck by the millions and used in everyday transactions for decades. However, there are some 1967 quarters that are anything but ordinary. These rare examples stand apart because of a combination of factors: minting errors, planchet mistakes, and oddities that slipped through the rigorous quality control systems of the U.S. Mint. These errors are not only rare but sometimes completely unique, making them incredibly desirable to collectors. When demand meets rarity, especially in the coin collecting world, you get skyrocketing prices. And that's exactly how we get to a $696,000 quarter. Let's begin by setting the scene for 1967. This was a time of significant change and experimentation at the United States Mint. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the Mint had stopped producing silver quarters due to the rising cost of silver. The quarter was transitioned from a composition of 90% silver and 10% copper to a clad composition made of copper and nickel. This new coinage wasn't immediately embraced by the public, and the Mint had a hard time keeping up with demand. During these transitional years, mistakes were far more likely to happen, and many did. The Mint was working overtime to produce enough coins, and that opened the door for more errors to slip through. One of the biggest contributing factors to the rarity of valuable 1967 quarters is the absence of mint marks. From 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily suspended the use of mint marks in an effort to discourage coin hoarding. Collectors at the time were hoarding coins based on mint marks, leading to shortages in circulation. So, all coins minted during this period appear without mint marks, meaning we cannot easily tell whether a 1967 quarter came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. While this might seem like it would make every 1967 quarter identical, it actually introduces more mystery. Because if a coin from 1967 somehow displays a mint mark, or has features associated with a specific mint's production style, it becomes extremely suspicious, in a good way. Such a coin would not just be rare, it would be almost certainly an error or anomaly. The 1967 Liberty Quarter that fetched nearly $700,000 did so not simply because it was old or because someone had stored it away in pristine condition for decades. No, what made it so valuable were a combination of very specific errors that are extremely hard to replicate. These include dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, planchet composition mistakes, and other rare anomalies. For example, one of the most sought-after 1967 quarters is one that was struck on a silver planchet by mistake. Remember, the Mint was no longer using silver for quarters in 1967, but they were still using it for some other denominations like half dollars, and leftover silver planchets could have mistakenly been used in quarter production. If a 1967 quarter was accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet, it would stand out immediately by weight and sound. The standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but a silver planchet coin would weigh closer to 6.25 grams. This difference might seem small, but for seasoned collectors and appraisers, it's a critical clue that something is very wrong, and very valuable. Another type of mint error involves a double die. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once due to a misalignment or other issue with the dies used to imprint the design. The result is a coin where parts of the lettering, date, or images appear duplicated or shadowed. Some 1967 quarters have been discovered with clear doubling, particularly on the word liberty or the motto, "In God We Trust." These are rare but highly sought after, and when the doubling is extreme and easily visible to the naked eye, the value can shoot up dramatically. Combine a double die with other errors and a high-grade condition, and you're suddenly looking at a coin worth hundreds of thousands. Planchet errors are another huge factor. The planchet is the blank metal disc that is struck to become a coin. Sometimes, a coin is struck on the wrong planchet altogether. There are confirmed cases where a 1967 quarter was struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin blank. These kinds of errors are very rare and usually happen during transitional periods or when the mint was processing multiple denominations or coin types in quick succession. A quarter struck on a dime planchet, for instance, would be smaller in diameter and weight, and the full design wouldn't even fit, making it obvious that something unusual had happened. These types of errors almost always result in incredibly valuable coins. Another possibility that has excited collectors is the appearance of repunched mint marks or ghost marks from repurposed dies. While official mint marks were not used in 1967, it's possible that leftover dies or tools from prior years might have been repurposed, or mint marks might have been accidentally left visible due to incomplete die polishing. A ghostly D or S appearing faintly on a 1967 quarter, though technically not supposed to be there, would send shockwaves through the coin collecting community and dramatically increase the coin's value. Let's also consider the condition of the coin. Like any collectible, condition is crucial. A coin that's heavily worn from circulation might be interesting if it has an error, but it will never reach the heights of a pristine, uncirculated example. The $696,000 quarter was not only a rare error, but it was also in superb condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with anything above 65 considered gem quality. The closer a coin is to a perfect 70, the more valuable it becomes, especially if it also features rare errors. Combine a mint error, a rare die strike, and a near-perfect grade, and you've got a coin worth nearly $750,000. And let's not forget about the human element in all of this, the chance, the timing, and the luck involved. Many of these error coins were found not by professional appraisers, but by ordinary people. Someone who saved a handful of coins from the 1960s might one day decide to look them up online and discover they're holding a small fortune. Or a collector sorting through a large batch of quarters might spot something slightly unusual: the edge seems off, the sound is different, or the image is misaligned. That's how some of these incredible coins are discovered. It's like a real-life treasure hunt, and anyone can play. That's part of the enduring charm and magic of coin collecting. You might be wondering how many of these 1967 Liberty quarters with valuable errors are still out there, hiding in drawers, jars, or even in circulation. The truth is, we don't really know. That uncertainty is part of what fuels the frenzy. It's entirely possible that someone watching this right now has a rare 1967 quarter sitting unnoticed in a change jar or taped inside a coin collection album from their grandparents. The potential for discovery is still very real. New finds surface every few years, and every time they do, it reignites interest in this fascinating coin. So, what should you do if you think you have a valuable 1967 quarter? The first step is to check its weight. If it's significantly heavier or lighter than 5.67 grams, you may be dealing with a planchet error. Next, inspect it under magnification for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual features. Look carefully at the lettering, the date, and the edge of the coin. If anything seems off, it's worth having the coin professionally appraised. Third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC can verify the coin's authenticity and grade it, which significantly boosts its value in the marketplace. Never clean the coin or attempt to alter it in any way, as this can destroy its value. Even dirty or toned coins can be worth more than you think, so leave them as you found them and let the experts take a look. Today's story is one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of numismatics. You won't believe how a seemingly ordinary coin, the 1986 Liberty $quarter, could actually be worth a staggering $422,000. Yes, you heard that right, $422,000. All because of a few incredible, rare errors and minting mistakes that have skyrocketed its value. We're going to take a deep dive into the world of rare coin collecting and explain exactly what makes this coin so special, how you can spot one, and why some people are cashing in big from just pocket change. Let's get started by taking you back to 1986, a year many Americans remember for its political shifts, technological changes, and cultural milestones. But in the world of coin minting, something very unusual happened, and it started with the Philadelphia Mint. Now, the Philadelphia Mint is one of the busiest in the country, and with millions upon millions of coins pressed every year, mistakes are bound to happen. Usually, these mistakes go unnoticed or are caught and destroyed during the minting process. But every now and then, a few slip through the cracks, and that's exactly what happened with some of the 1986 Liberty quarters. Now, to a casual observer, the 1986 quarter looks just like any other. It has the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse, with the word Liberty above his head, "In God We Trust," on the left side, and the date, 1986, at the bottom. The reverse shows the eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. At first glance, nothing seems out of the ordinary. But for keen-eyed collectors, certain rare examples of this quarter display very specific and unusual features that separate them from the rest and place them in an elite category of ultra-valuable coins. The first key detail is the mint mark. On this particular quarter, the letter P is stamped just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse. This indicates that it was minted in Philadelphia. Normally, this isn't anything special, but in the case of this rare error coin, something went very wrong, or very right, if you're the one who finds it. There are a handful of known 1986 quarters that were minted with what collectors call a misplaced mint mark. This means the P was struck in the wrong position, or sometimes, was missing entirely. These types of errors are incredibly rare and significantly increase the value of the coin. Even more intriguing is the presence of double dies. A double die occurs when the die that strikes the coin has a misalignment during the creation process, causing it to strike the design onto the coin twice in slightly different positions. This can lead to very visible doubling on letters, numbers, or parts of the image. On some 1986 quarters, you can see clear doubling on the word Liberty, the phrase, "In God We Trust," or the numbers in the date. These aren't minor flaws, these are dramatic, visible errors that any collector would instantly recognize as rare and desirable. Another error that adds tremendous value to this coin is what's known as a struck-through error. This happens when some foreign object, like a piece of cloth, grease, or even metal shavings, gets between the die and the blank planchet during minting. The result is a coin that has an unusual texture or a partial design. These struck-through errors are incredibly unique, and since no two are exactly alike, they are highly prized by collectors. One particularly famous 1986 quarter was struck through a layer of grease, causing much of the detail on George Washington's face to be obscured. That single coin sold at auction for several $1,000s due to its one-of-a-kind appearance. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin's design is not properly centered. A small percentage of off-center is common and usually not too valuable. But when a coin is dramatically off-center, say, 50% or more, and still shows a complete date and mint mark, it becomes a major find. Collectors love these because they are visually striking and clearly display the minting error point. One of the most captivating error types on the 1986 P quarter is the wrong planchet error. This occurs when the quarter is struck on a blank intended for another denomination, like a dime or a foreign coin. This mistake results in a coin that may be the wrong size, wrong weight, or even wrong color. There have been a few known examples of 1986 quarters struck on dime planchets, which are lighter and slightly smaller. Because these types of errors are so visually distinct and rare, they can fetch enormous prices at auction, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, depending on their condition. Speaking of condition, let's talk about grading. The value of any error coin is significantly affected by its grade, that is, how well preserved it is. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with a 70 being a perfect, mint-state coin. A rare error on a high-grade coin is a dream come true for collectors. That's how some of these 1986 P quarters have reached prices north of $400,000. It's not just the error, it's the combination of rarity, demand, and pristine condition that drives the value to such heights. Let's not forget about die cracks and cuds, two more types of errors that appear on 1986 P quarters and contribute to their rarity. A die crack happens when the metal die used to strike the coin develops a crack. When the cracked die continues to strike coins, it leaves a raised line on the finished product. These cracks can appear in various locations and can vary in length and depth. Some collectors specialize in finding and cataloging coins with specific die cracks because of their uniqueness. Cuds are another type of die break, where a portion of the die actually falls away, causing a blob-like raised area on the coin where detail is missing. These errors are dramatic and easy to spot, and collectors love them for their uniqueness and rarity. A 1986 quarter with a sizable cud and a clear date could easily sell for thousands. Now, imagine finding a coin that combines multiple errors, a double die, a struck-through error, an off-center strike, and a die crack, all on the same 1986 P quarter. These are the unicorns of coin collecting. One such coin surfaced a few years ago and caused a frenzy in the numismatic community. The bidding war that followed ended with the coin selling for over $400,000. Why? Because of the combination of rarity, condition, and the sheer number of visible minting errors. But here's what's really exciting, these coins are still out there. The U.S. Mint produced over 550 million quarters in 1986 at the Philadelphia Mint alone. Most of them are ordinary, worth 25 cents. But a tiny fraction contains the kinds of errors we've been talking about. These coins could be in your change jar, in a drawer, or tucked away in an old wallet. That's why collectors and treasure hunters are constantly on the lookout. It's not just a hobby, it's a hunt. And sometimes, that hunt pays off in a life-changing way. So, what should you look for if you want to find one of these valuable 1986 P quarters? Start with the basics. Check the date, 1986, and look for the P mint mark. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to inspect the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, for signs of doubling. Examine the edges and the field of the coin for die cracks or unusual blobs that might indicate cuds. Weigh the coin if you suspect it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. A quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. Anything significantly different might point to a rare error. And don't forget to look for off-center strikes or any unusual texturing that could suggest a struck-through error.